What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com. If you're a blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Christy. This was submitted for my consideration, and I have considered Christy. I've pondered. I had a fun moment with Christy. Join me on the sidetrack over here. It's just a step to the left, and then a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips. Anyway, so I got a screener for Christy, which is great because I have so many to get through right now that I never was going to make it to the theater for this. So it was not even high on my list because of mixed reviews and stuff. And I don't know Christy Martin. Like, I don't follow boxing, female boxing. I actually don't even follow boxing. But I would say I didn't know who she was, even within her own sport, being as big as she is. But I finished the film literally within seconds. It's like somebody had a security camera on me. One of my friends texted me and goes, "What are your thoughts on Sydney Sweeney and Christy? I don't know what to do with this film, but I really loved it. But I don't know if we're allowed to like Sydney Sweeney." I was like, do I have to talk about that in my review? Do I have to talk about Sydney Sweeney, like, conceptually? Are people going to be like, come for me? Has Ruby Rose, like, changed, altered the society? I think the Ruby Rose thing is dumb. Contextually, she was originally in the movie, and then they picked up Sydney Sweeney. Now, for those of us in the know, Christy Martin has been going around with this movie and also has made a lot of appearances with Sydney Sweeney. So she seems perfectly happy with Sydney's performance. I don't know. She's very involved in the production of this movie. I would think if she didn't want Sydney to play her, she wouldn't have had Sydney play her. So Ruby also famously is difficult to work with, hence the reason why we have two Batwomen. So yeah, maybe not the person to go die on a hill with on this. So and then if you're thinking about the jeans campaign, right? So she signed on to promote a product. American Eagle's a brand that's been around forever. I think a lot of people have shopped at American Eagle over the years, long before this commercial ever aired. I have American Eagle products. A long time ago, when I was a teenager, I applied to work at American Eagle. So I don't think the brand suddenly became racist overnight. It's just one of those ads that didn't work out and wasn't well thought through, and then the internet reacted to it. So I don't blame Sydney Sweeney for showing up for the ad. So I don't really understand the specific hate being thrown at Sydney Sweeney right now. And there are a lot of stars that are trying not to get too political during their campaigns. It's this new thing where they're trying this out to see how this works for them, where they're trying not to divide their audiences. I don't know that I fully agree with it, but Jennifer Lawrence is doing the same thing. So if you don't like Sydney Sweeney, you also can't like Jennifer Lawrence anymore. So if that's your reason for it, is because Sydney is not speaking up specifically on political issues, neither is Jennifer Lawrence. And she's making that abundantly clear in her awards campaign. So I liked Christy, and I liked Sydney Sweeney in Christy, and I also really liked Ben Foster. And I know he plays an abusive asshole in here, but Ben Foster has been acting for years, turning out really exceptional work, like Timon and again, while it doesn't have audio description, that other movie that he's in this year where he is obsessed with crashing cars, he's good in that. But he deserved an Oscar nomination for Hell or High Water. He was also excellent in The Messenger, where Woody Harrelson got a nomination, but he did not. So there have been plenty of opportunities to nominate Ben Foster over the years. I know when Emancipation with Will Smith was floating before people saw it and realized this was not an Oscar play, Ben Foster's list was appearing on some supporting things back then too, as being maybe Ben Foster, because I think people realize he should have an Oscar nomination in his future. Like, he's an actor that we're just going to keep talking about until we eventually nominate him. So I would fully support the nomination for him, even if it didn't go to Sydney Sweeney, because he's been doing it longer and Sydney's brand new. I think it's definitely the wrong take to just nominate the abusive asshole, but he plays it really well. He really disappears into this character. But Sydney Sweeney also really disappears into Christy Martin, and that character that she plays in Euphoria is like nowhere here at all. It's totally gone. I don't think any character she's ever played matches this at all. This feels like a stretch. For somebody who does have kind of a limited resume, I was quite impressed with Sydney Sweeney's work here, in terms of what she's able to do. It's a biopic, but it's we're doing this thing where we don't want to we don't want to do the typical biopic thing anymore. So we're trying to find different ways of doing biopics and pulling at the threads a little bit. So it starts to feel like a traditional biopic at the beginning, where you see Christy and she's fighting and she doesn't realize how good she is. And her family, Merritt Wever does a really lovely job disappearing into a role that I feel like I've met this woman 100 times. Like, for people, she deserves to be in consideration too. I mean, it's not a very dynamic role, but I absolutely have. I know people like this. I've talked to people like this. There are people that exist. This is MAGA. This is like middle of the road, or people like Merritt Wever walking around with these very like, well, I just think that you should go over there. I don't think you've thought about this well enough. I think you should go over there and apologize. I think plenty of people are doing what Merritt Wever does. She is living a life in this movie. And so they're worried about their daughter being gay, and Christy's paramour at the time, her parents send her to a priest or something. I don't know. Anyway, so there's this like give and take between the two of them, and Christy's then offered an opportunity to go box and train, and she goes to train with Ben Foster's character, who doesn't see a future for female boxers, but there's a guy that's interested in making money off of Christy and boxing, that basically, tells him to do it, that is above him, and it's like, I need you to train her. So he works with her, and at first he just seems like a casual run-of-the-mill like douchebag. Like, he's like not the inspiring boxing coach that's going to be in the corner, but but his, not everything that he says is like abrasively terrible, but he has his moments where he says things that are like disconcerting. So it's an interesting performance from him, because it has to go off the rails by the end of the movie. So they throw you little bones to let you know, he's not Clint Eastwood, $1 Million Baby, where he was kind of like a dick, but by the end of the movie, everybody was like, what was that Irish phrase that they said? Mea culpa. I know that's not what they said, but whatever. I forget. So she eventually, she'll train up, and Don King comes into play here, and she gets to fight, and there's a contract, and meanwhile, along the way, to try to, I don't know, prove that she's not a lesbian or whatever, she ends up getting married to Ben Foster, who I think also sexually assaults her. I want to say it's ambiguous, but I think I picked up what the film was putting down, so I don't think it's that ambiguous. But it's not like she runs out and was like, "Oh my God, he sexually assaulted me," but we're getting married. Like, it's not one of those scenes. So it's sort of unspoken, but yeah, I think anyway they end up together, and of course the relationship continues to go downhill, and really the movie stops becoming a biopic about boxing and starts becoming a biopic really about Christy Martin and the shit that she went through, which is some really dark shit. And that's why it abandons the typical biopic structure, because if this was a biopic about boxing, we would just kind of end with her being a successful boxer. We would never know about this. We would never know about her home life. You would know about it in little cutaways. Ben Foster would not have this much screen time. Um, there would be some scene where she's like, "I'm leaving you, finally," you know, and then just like walks out the door and then goes to another fight. But no, they really invest in this scene because they want you to they want you to know what it was like for Christy to be at rock bottom, and also what it's like for somebody to be as strong as she is and to feel so small. I think the film does a really good job of portraying that. So I think it's not my favorite film of the year, but I think it's a very interesting film, and I love the approach that it's taken to the biopic. Like, I can understand why this isn't like a picture for a play for Best Picture, because then you have to get in like the top 10 films of the year. I don't think that is here, but I do think that this is a very sort of um, interesting portrayal and deviation from how we normally would tell this story. And I think through that, we have a couple of great performances that I'm having a hard time figuring out where they're going to be on my list at the end of the year, because nobody feels like they're number one for me, but they all certainly feel like they could be. I could be voting for them. I could be nominating them. So Sydney Sweeney, Ben Foster, and Merritt Wever in actress, supporting actress, supporting actress, I really enjoyed. I know it's hard to enjoy Merritt Wever's performance because her character is such a bitch. But if you've ever encountered a Merritt Wever before, you will know how good she is in this role. Ben Foster is so hard to get behind him because he is such a dick in this movie. But he's also really scary, really good. And for a character that doesn't start out at like, 100, he has to grow to it. Ben Foster actually has a lot of dynamic here, like to play with. So he does kind of start already sort of in the, you know, warning, danger, Will Robinson territory, where there's already like a flag on the play. But yeah, I mean, where he goes with that character by the end of the film is just it's really some great stuff. And then Sydney Sweeney is doing something that I've never seen her do before, and has completely disappeared into a role and lost herself. And the odd thing about this movie is the takeaway from this. So there's a debate about like, should Sydney, she's not one of us, should she be playing? This is the least gay movie that is a gay movie. This movie is not as concerned as you would think it is. Coming from a gay film critic, I would not pick up on that. Like, it's there, but it's more concerned about boxing. And then the last half of the movie is feeling the need to get out of the abusive relationship. It's not about like, uh, Christy hooking up with like lots of women, right? It's not this massive like sexual exploration for her. Battle of the Sexes, for example, feels like more of a queer-centric biopic about an athlete than this does. So, and that was Emma Stone, by the way, for those who forget, she's not one of us. So that's why I brought that up. I feel like Emma Stone did more in that movie than Sydney Sweeney does here. I think, yeah, I mean, she has this partner that sort of weaves in and out, but it's definitely not the focus of the movie. Um, so, Boxer and Survivor are above lesbian. I hate to say it, but it's a film about a female boxer who endures an incredible struggle, but that struggle is not coming out. It's having the shit beaten out of her by someone, and being set up so badly that even though she probably can knock his ass out, she's put in a situation where she just can't, and how do you do that? And how do you destroy somebody mentally, and just keep knocking the shit out of them emotionally and physically. So it's definitely not a happy movie, but it's a powerful film, with some really amazing performances in it. So should these actors be nominated? I hope they're considered. I hope no matter where they go or if they end up in Oscar season, I hope they all get in somewhere. I hope they just pop up. I hope they at least get some recognition where they hear their name. I want to see Sydney Sweeney get recognized somewhere for Christy. I want to see Ben Foster get recognized somewhere for Christy. I think I'm the only one that really appreciated what Merritt Wever did, but it would be nice to see maybe some group, sort of like how Gotham's really overplayed If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. If there was some group that overclocked Christy and included Merritt Wever in supporting actress, I'd be here for it. So, yeah, check it out. It has audio description in theaters, and I like the movie. It's not in my top 10. I'm not even gonna ambiguously try to say, oh, this might be one of my best films. It's not one of the best films of the year. Pacing can be a little bit of a problem for the first half, while it's trying to figure out how much of a biopic it should be. And then the second half of the film is kind of the devastating conclusion. And it feels like it's two halves of a whole that are judged separately, that are of differing quality and editing and pacing, and but the connective tissue that powers this film are the performances by the actors. So that is the hot take from this, is go for the acting. And I'm just so sorry that Christy Martin had to go through any of this. And also, I guess you could say the whole thing could have been avoided if parents were just more accepting from the beginning and just been like, oh, our daughter's a lesbian. Great. And tell me about your life. Tell me, who is she? Who do you like? Because if they had done that, then she wouldn't have ever felt pressured to be in this abusive relationship. That just absolutely, I don't want to reveal all the shit that happens, but Jesus Christ. So at the end of the day, it's like a cautionary tale to parents. Are you sure you want to be homophobic to your kids? Are you sure that that's the path that you want forward for them? Because are you sure? you could have it much worse, so be careful what you wish for when you want your daughter to find a man. She found one. Yep. And I bet she wishes she hadn't. So I'm gonna give Christy, I'm gonna give it a 7.8 out of 10, powered by the performances. It will fall short of my top 10 and my top 25. I know it's in my top 10 and top 25 right now, and it's not there. But it is one of the better films this year. And the performances may be on my performances list, but I don't know where. Second, fourth, fifth, eighth, I have no idea. So, anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side. Now I have to do this weird thing because my shit broke and I have to manually turn